Time.tv.
Phantom Skull, creature number 36, is actually an executed soldier's head that is hunting for vengeance. It will occasionally drop hats and potions, though it's not known where these items are stored. Well, hello once again, and welcome back to Nathan Plays Castlevania Symphony of the Night. My name is Nathan, and this is Castlevania for the Sony PlayStation. In the previous episode, we beat the game, actually. But as you recall, I was not satisfied with the ending that we got, and neither should you have been. And so we're going to dive back in, because as I've alluded to many times, there is a lot more to do. So we're going to start off in the Castle Keep prior to the ending that we got, although with some of the items that I picked up before heading into the final battle, which is rather convenient. So here we are, back in Castle Keep. And we're going to head down, all the way down, to this fast travel warp point that we discovered quite a while back. Take that over to Goat Station. Perfect. And as you'll note, we're back in Roxas Quarters. Now, here's the thing about Roxas Quarters. Did we ever actually meet Rox? We did not. And that's where we're going to head toward here. We're in his quarters. We may as well stop by and say hello. We're going to make our way up this thing that we couldn't really have done easily before, because without the bat power, there's not really a good way to get up here that I'm aware of. Maybe there's some hacky, cheaty way to do it, but this is how we're going to go. Grab the things along the way. It's quite a ways up. And we end up in sort of a prison area with a few zombies running around. Quick thwack of the Holy Rod makes short work of them. Couple of daggers for that one. Change it up. And up here we have the Estoc. One of those. Anyway, we'll check it out just for funsies. It's a two-hander sword, and it's a German thrust sword. So you're not allowed to have a shield, and when you use it, it slides you forward, actually, by quite a bit. While that is an impressive range, it means I don't really have the recovery that I might normally like to have if I miss. Excuse me, so it's not actually something that I use all that terribly often. Here we are in sort of a courtyard area with a very cool moon effect that I was trying to show off earlier. You'll see it again, hopefully. But if you look at where the moon is, it does sort of a light filtering through effect, sort of a rays thing that's very, very neat. It's quite subtle, and it may not show up well in this video. In there we have Garnet, and on our way back out, this poor fella comes to... Oh, we're going to leave him? If you approach the cage, he'll stand there and shake the bars until you leave. He sadly turns away, looks back, and fades into the darkness. What's his story? We'll never know. Poor guy. So anyway, we're on the ground of this courtyard there. There's kind of a neat 3D effect in the back with some of the inner buildings, if you look closely. I'm going to switch back to Holy Rod because... does a cool 58 damage to these horse boys, and 78 if I do the quick back to forward and then hit. Here we have a very lovely fountain. And, oh, what is, that's rust. It's just rusty pipes. You can see some of that moon effect that I was talking about if you look at it around the edges of the buildings in the background. And just one of the amazing touches that they put into this game. Totally unnecessary, but just wonderful in terms of atmosphere and the world. Whoops. Grabbed probably my least favorite sub-weapon over the one that I actually wanted, which is daggers, so it was worth going all the way back down to grab that. And then I saved you the flight back up. So we're going to head into this brick passageway here. Looks sort of plain, not a lot of surprises. We can grab this iron ball. That's one of those weapons that you throw at guys. I don't use those things very often because I forget about them. And here we have an ornate-looking door. Music stops. That means something's happening, and we get pushed into the room. Well, here we are at last. There's old Rox. He bids us have a seat, so we do. Isn't that nice? But it turns out he doesn't want to... He's not much interested in talking or having dinner. We broke his table. We're going to fight. Olrox likes to summon skulls and bats. He's very susceptible to soul steals. And he also likes to explode the floor with ghosts or something. Switch it over to the, you know what? Right back to the Holy Rod. No, wait, Shield Rod, sorry. Shield Rod. For some reason, I felt like the Holy Rod wasn't doing as much as it could have. Altogether, the fight is not terrible, as long as he doesn't do a lot of summoning. And if you're careful about where he sets off those floor traps. Then, we go to Phase 2. Where it turns out Olrox is a giant lizard man who likes to breathe lasers. While that is an extremely cool effect from an animation perspective, it is a little bit troubling to run into. Once again, I dug into my sub-menus in order to get the Holy Rod back out. And you'll notice that headshots do a lot more damage than body hits, body blows. Fortunately, even when he does connect with us, it's not really doing a ton of damage. There's a bunch of ones. So it's possible we came to this fight later than anticipated. Still, it's not all smooth sailing, but eventually it ends. He turns into a skelly man. And then is cleaned up. Neat. So why did we do that? What did we get for all of that nonsense? We get something very important, but that we're not going to get to use for quite a while. But we need it. It's at the back of this passage. It has a bat on it, and it's Echo of Bat. The application of Echo of Bat, it was very, very puzzling. You can see I pressed the button there, and it does sort of a vague yellow cone. And when I was first playing this game, I was completely baffled as to why that was even a thing. But like I said, patience. We'll use it way later on. So we're up here. Just for your reference, we've opened up quite a bit more area than we had on the map earlier. And you can see some of the ways in which this area connects up to the ones around it. I'm not being a completionist. I'm not going to fly up and down like a bat and fill in all those middle squares, although you can do that if you want to. But we're going to take this passage out of Roxas Quarters in order to connect up in a different spot. Like I mentioned in the previous video, Soul Steal, because it hits everything on screen, is extremely useful for finding hidden passages, one of which is right above me. Because it will hit it does the hits on the wall that you need. We got another card. Another familiar. It is the Sword, which summons Sword Familiar. And that's this individual. This thing will float around and occasionally stab or do fancy swinging moves. Once again, if you are speedrunning the game, you will almost definitely not have this thing on at all because more than some of the other ones, it tends to slow down the frame rates in these areas. As you can hear by the music, we've come back to the chapel. I think we popped our heads into that room earlier. It took a while for it to pay off. So working through the chapel, we went around, avoid the poltergeist there. And we're going to get into Coliseum. We're going across. We didn't really spend a lot of time in Coliseum. I just wanted to grab one more secret while I was here. And it's up there. And at the end of this hallway, a holy sword. Now this is rather like the holy rod, only a sword. And nice and strong, 34, which is a good attack at this point in the game. It has the same sort of holy powers, so it's very strong against undead creatures and things. And if you do a down to forward like a Ryu fireball, it will do a little bit of extra damage, which is quite nice. So I have a cool sword fight with that Blade Master. And then move on back through Old Roxas Quarters and down into the way we got into this area in the first place. Back to the clock room. I'm hoping that the geography of these things sort of vaguely makes sense. I try and check in with a map on a regular basis just so you have a bit of an idea of where we are in the castle and how these things connect up. Not that you have to commit it to memory. There's not going to be a quiz after this. We're going to use our new bat power to head up this central passage that we were not able to get to before. There's a very cool power-up up here, and it's not one that is completely necessary, but it's a lot of fun to use and to play with. It's not these things, a potion, a hammer, and a life apple. Hammers are nice if you get stoned. The hammer will free you. I mean, turn to stone, sorry. And on this side, we've got a little pair of shoes with a wing on it, the gravity boots. Well, that sounds like something straight out of a certain science fiction-y franchise that your narrator is a big fan of. So what the gravity boots do is enable you to go down, up, and jump in a quick motion and get a super jump, just like that. It launches you upward, uses a little bit of your magic power every time. If you do it on a higher surface, he hits upside down, and if you do it on a lower surface, he bashes his head quite unceremoniously. It's just a very neat thing to have. And because I grabbed the stopwatch while I was in Old Roxas Quarters, we can open up the last passage. You have to use the stopwatch to open that up. And there's not much good up here. There's a heart max up. And there's these Alucard things. Do you remember in the beginning of the game that we had an Alucard sword, Alucard shield, all these things? Well, this is Alucard. It resembles the family sword and shield. Sort of a cheap knockoff. And if we go over to the armor, it has maybe my favorite description. Resists fire, lightning, ice? Which is to say that it doesn't. They all have terrible stats, and they're just pale imitations of the equipment that you started the game with, meant to get you excited that you'd found it again. So now we're here, we're at the center of the castle. We have these new power-ups that we wanted, and it's time to make our way down. Down, down, down to the caverns. We are going to work our way down to an area that we had to bypass earlier because we didn't really have a good way to get into it. So a quick save. Take out some spear guards, and then catch ourselves as we fall so we can go right into here. Now, what's in here? There's a stopwatch that we don't really want. As you can see, we're sort of branching off to the side in another unmapped area of the castle. We have a room full of vases. Is that what we came for? Well, there's a claymore. It's a fairly basic two-hander sword that I don't really love using. I'm going to stick with my holy sword for now, thank you. A little bit of money. Then another room full of vases. Is this what we came for? No. The vases contain meal tickets, which are kind of fun. I'll show you how they work in just a moment. There's also something very cool, a moonstone. So the Moonstone is an accessory that you can put on up here. Finally, something useful. It ups all your stats. It says it improves status after sunset. Well, how do you know when it's sunset in the game? So the clock, like the central clock, the one that's tied to your game time, is the time in the world. So it's 2 a.m. currently. So after about 6 hours in, 7 hours, this relic will wear off and not be as effective. And then you have to wait. You have to play for another 12 hours, I guess, after that for it to be good again. I just thought that was kind of neat. Anyway, there's a save point there, and then there's another room off to the right. We're a little bit hesitant to go in. What could be in there? This seems fine. It's like a save point, but we'll check it out.
Mother!
That voice! Alucard, it's you!
I'm coming, Mother! I'll save you!
No, Alucard! Don't come here!
But Mother!
It's all right. If my death can save others, I'd gladly surrender my life.
Mother, no! Please, no!
Yes, Alucard. Watch me die, and remember always my last words to you.
Yes, Mother.
You must despise humans. They are to be your prey.
What?
Better for them to die than to let them compound their sins. Begin by slaying that one over there.
No, it wasn't like this.
What's wrong? Alucard.
My mother never said such a thing.
What do you mean? Kill them and bring them happiness.
No, you're not my mother. What kind of demon are you?
You broke free of my spell. I like that.
Demon, death is too good for you.
Come here, little boy, and show me what you've got.
So it's a boss fight. With a unique and somewhat alarming song. And a succubus. The fight is actually not that terrible, as you can tell. This part can be a little bit tricky, but I managed to somehow guess the right one right off the hop. And again.
Darkling, I smell your blood. You're a vampire? Could it be... that strength, that beauty? You're the son of Lord Dracula.
Death in the dream world will set your soul wandering for eternity, demon.
Wait, I beg of you!
And so, we're booted back out into the castle, and there's a ring. It's a gold ring. Is there anything special? It has an inscription that says, "Where? Clock." Interesting. This is one of the very crucial items that we're going to need. The other one is a little ways off. We have a few other places to hit before we get there. But that also gives you a little bit of background on Alucard and his history. Oh, I was going to show off the meal ticket. So when you equip meal ticket and you use it, it just randomly spits out any piece of food from the game. In this case, I got grapes. It's a mystery food ticket, you see. I got some juicy seedless grapes. Delicious. So you never actually know what you're going to get with those. I also decided to switch back to the Blood Cloak because aesthetically I was finally tired of the Crystal Cloak. I think the Blood Cloak looks cool too, and I just wanted to change it up a little bit. So the next thing to do is to go further down into the caverns, way, 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 way down, where you remember we went into that flooded area and we fought a woman riding a dog beast with snakes. And we're going to hit open that little obscure corner of land. Now that takes us to a very important area. I have no idea how you would have found that, but it's actually quite crucial to get. And it's the Boatman. Now he wouldn't be here unless we had picked up that merman statue from quite a while back on the other side of the caverns.
I'll guide you to meet your destiny.
Well, the voice acting in this game, I think between the last scene and this one, you can tell it's just top notch all the way. So on this boat ride, you want to stay ducked as much as possible because things will knock you off. The bats are there, the low-hanging rock walls are there. It's better to just get in the front of the boat, just chill, just stay there. The sword is going to try and get my back and kill some bats. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Even if you do manage to tank it out and get through all the water damage to get there, there's a wall in the way that won't open until you get there with the Boatman. So yeah, as you recall, water does constant draining damage to your health, unless you get... Is that a snorkel? It looks like a snorkel. No, it's a holy symbol. Oh. Because, I mean... It does look like a snorkel. It has protection while underwater, but it's... Nope. Holy symbol. Okay. So we no longer take constant damage from water. We can hang out in it all the live long day. This is a very nice thing to be able to have. Because there's all kinds of stuff down in the water, like elixirs and potions and fish heads that breathe fire that you'll see in a minute. So we left that area, made our way all the way back to the caverns. That's the area where we drowned those guys by pushing the box into the hole. And we can go down here now. Like I said, fishes that breathe fire. If you come here earlier, they're actually worth a pretty substantial amount of experience. And they're good to farm. But I'm also forgetting that I have a shield, and so I'm going to keep taking fireballs. Nope. There we go, shields. You remembered. Way to go, Nathan. Now here's an interesting little weapon that's been sitting up here. I'll take care of these fish heads first. You saw I got some nunchucks, or nunchaku. You strike the enemy twice. They're a two-handed weapon. And as you can see, he does kind of 2 hits with them, and it has its own little animation, which I think is pretty cool. Don't love them, not going to use them. Anyway, continuing to the left, we went over the waterfall that we dropped down last time. And there's a button here. We couldn't access this button, but when we push it, a Donkey Kong ape shows up, throws a barrel. And it says something appeared near to the wooden bridge. So that's supposed to be a great big hint, but first we're going to just chuck ourselves down the waterfall again. I regret nothing. Now we can land in the water and everything's fine. We can safely go into this passage behind the waterfall. And grab a life max up. I just remembered that I picked up the Herald Shield, which is a nice shield, and we're going to try that with the Shield Rod just to see what it does. It does this. It summons a lady whose bum you can see, and then she gives you protection from fire and thunder. I apologize if you didn't want to see a bum today. I'm sorry. So the frame rate kind of chugs a little bit when you get over there, and especially since I have the sword and my tagging along with me. So we went back up the waterfall and back towards the way we came, to the wooden bridge that we crossed over before. Now the difference is that this time in this hallway, that ape is there with the barrel. So what we're going to do, we need to leave the area and come back, get the frogs out of the way, and the toads, and we need to sort of kite him back to the bridge. Also, tired of the sword. Go away, sword. Don't need you. If you let him get too close, he's going to chuck the barrel too soon. We need that barrel to land on the wood. Perfect. We get a heart max and a life max. We destroy him for his troubles. And then we move to a brand new area. The Abandoned Mine. With a very spooky soundtrack. So as you can see, we're poised to head down further into the bowels of the castle than we've ever been. And there's a great big old dog's head over that passage. So that's 3 spooky, 5 me. I don't want to do it. So for today, we're going to head into this save point instead. We're going to leave it there for this time. We have a lot more to uncover in the castle. Thank you ever so much for watching, and we'll see you next mission.